Hi everybody. My name is Stefanie Pinsley. I am a marketing and branding coach for small business owners and entrepreneurs. In my past life, I was a Google product marketing manager for a little over 3 years, but I actually quit my job at Google in February of 2021 so that I could work for myself and really support people just like you. Again, entrepreneurs, small business owners, in building and growing their brands, in working on social media, content marketing, and that is exactly what I'm going to be talking to you guys about today. So, we are going to be diving into how you can organically increase awareness for your brand online. We're going to focus mostly on social media, but I do have a few tidbits outside of social media that I'll share with you at the end. All right, so let's start. What are we going to cover today? We are going to, like I said, really talk mostly about content marketing. I'll share my 5-step content marketing process with you all. And then towards the end, I'll share a few other ways that you can build your brand's awareness outside of social media by becoming your own PR agent. But we'll save that for later. Okay, so content marketing. This is my 5-step content marketing process that I leverage to build my brand's growth organically. I do this with my clients as well. The first step is finding your niche, and I know a lot of people are resistant to finding your niche, but we'll get into that in a couple slides as to why it is so important, especially when it comes to content marketing and creating content that really deeply resonates with your audience. The second step is all about researching your niche, getting so intimately aware of who your ideal client is and what their problems are so that you know them better than you know your best friend. And then the third step, once we have our niche, we know our niche well, then we're going to start creating relevant and engaging content. Then we will show up as an expert consistently. Consistency is hard, I know that. I definitely have struggled with it myself. But there are some ways to make this a little bit easier, and I will talk about that as well. And then finally, the 5th step of my content marketing process is all about doubling down on what's working. So really measuring the results, the success of your content, seeing what insights you can pull out, and then applying that to your future content efforts. Okay, so we are going to start with finding your niche. Now, a niche is, I like to say, it's who you help and how you help them. So a mass market, and this is a problem that I see over and over again with small business owners, is they don't have a niche. They're targeting more of a mass market. So as an example, a mass market is skincare. A niche market, think of it as a slice of a pie. A niche market within this mass market is sensitive skincare for women over 50. So we know exactly who I'm helping, women over 50, and how I'm helping them with sensitive skincare. So we really need to earn the right to go broad, especially if we're new business owners, because when you niche down, not only does this make it easier for you to create relevant and engaging content and very targeted, effective marketing, but you are also essentially positioning yourself away from competitors. You're reducing the competition. And when you specialize in something, you often can charge more than when you just are too general, right? So if you think about a doctor, if you go to an optometrist or a cardiologist, they're a specialist. They can charge a lot more because they are experts in one specific area. But if you go to just your normal, I'm blanking on the name, primary care physician, they're not going to be able to charge as much as a specialist because they're more of a generalist. So keep that in mind when you're feeling resistant to picking your niche. It is definitely going to pay off tenfold. And I've also struggled with picking a niche, even as a marketing and branding expert, so I totally understand. But if you do not know your niche, I actually have a free training that I linked right here in this presentation. And I'll actually share this presentation with you guys after our call, because there's a lot of links I've embedded that you guys might want to check out. So I do have a free training, 3 quick videos, and a worksheet to help you figure out what your niche is. So again, when we are trying to create relevant, engaging content, because this is step 1 of our 5-step content marketing process, we have to know exactly who we're trying to speak to, because you may have heard this before, when you try to speak to everyone, you speak to no one. You really need to know exactly who you're speaking to so that you're hitting on very specific pain points and pleasure points. So a pain point is really just the challenges, the struggles, the unmet needs, the limiting beliefs. And the pleasure points are the goals, the desired outcomes, hopes, wishes, dreams, values of your ideal client. When we know this, and when we get into researching your niche, we're going to talk about this more. When we know specifically what they need help with, what their questions are, and we create content targeted to that, that's how you're going to get them to stop scrolling, pay attention, and engage with your content. And that's ultimately how you can really grow. So let's dive into now researching your niche. Like I said, we want to get to know our niche, the people in our niche, and the problems that they're dealing with. Again, who you help, how you help them. Think of it that way as your niche. We have to get to know them so intimately because, again, the content we create needs to be based on these insights that we've uncovered in our research. So before we dive into how to research, I would recommend that you first set up 2 running documents. I like to use Google Docs. Just have it be somewhere that is online that you can reach on your phone, on your laptop, and that is always in one specific place that you know where it is. So you want to set up one research doc. Now this is essentially just going to have all of the research that you're conducting about your ideal client and your niche. And so you're going to just have a running document. And then another document that you're going to set up is your ideas document. So here, this is just a running list of all your content ideas. And as you go through this research, it will become very easy to come up with content ideas. And we'll talk about that as well, because again, we're researching, we're getting to know them. And as you do, you're going to say, oh, wow, this would make a great piece of content. I know how I can speak about this on an Instagram Reel as an example. So that's the groundwork we want to set up, our research document and our ideas document. In our research document, we want to be sure that when we are taking research and putting it into this running document, this living and breathing document that we're always going to be updating, that we are not paraphrasing. You really want to copy and paste specific quotes that you're seeing online, maybe a screenshot of a Reddit forum, because you want to know what is your ideal client's language, because we want to be able to use their language in our own content, in our own marketing and messaging, because people will react better, they will engage more when they are hearing their own words and the lingo that they use, right? So if we use too much jargon or if we paraphrase, we're gonna miss this opportunity to really take exactly their language and plug it in to our sales page as an example, or our content. So do keep that in mind. Now, what we're doing to get all of this research, there's a ton of different ways to get this research. And before I talk about the different methods to research, I'm going to tell you what you should be doing for every and all research method. Again, we know that we're trying to figure out their pain points, the challenges, their struggles, their unmet needs, limiting beliefs, and their pleasure points, which is their hopes, wishes, dreams, values, ideal outcomes, how they want to feel. And then we also want to capture their needs and their questions, right? So I like to set up a spreadsheet on Google Sheets where I'll have the columns be like pain points, pleasure points, or hopes, wishes, dreams. And then in each cell going down is where I will plug in individual maybe screenshots or quotations, copy and paste. Again, we're not paraphrasing. So one way that you can get into this research, and my favorite way by far, is with Reddit. So if you go on reddit.com or redditlist.com, which has a list of all the different subreddits, basically you're just going to want to search some keywords related to your niche. So for me, I would type in small business marketing. I would then look at the different Reddit forums or the different threads and see where are people talking about their marketing as a small business owner. In Reddit, and same thing in Facebook groups, we're just going to join 5 or so Facebook groups and we're going to listen and stay alert for things like, I wish I knew how to. Does anyone know someone who? I'm really struggling with. Whatever, again, their questions, their pains, their pleasures, their needs. We're taking note of this in both the Facebook groups and the Reddit forums. But you're going to take this, you're going to apply this to the other ways that we research as well when we're going into groups and forums. So again, we're looking for the specific anecdotes that they might be sharing. So especially on Reddit, if you see someone talking about a particular challenge that a small business owner has with their marketing, people tend to tell stories. And so we want to take note of what those stories are. And if those particular posts, whether they be on Reddit, Facebook groups, etc., have a lot of likes and comments, because if they do, that likely means that a lot of people agree with that and have shared a similar experience. So take note of what those stories are, what the use cases are. So maybe someone's talking about how, she's trying to create an Instagram reel and she's running into this challenge, that challenge, and the other. So you want to take note of this particular use case, the context that these challenges are coming up in, so that when you are creating content, you're speaking exactly to that event. So we have Reddit, Facebook groups. You can also just simply ask your audience. So go on your Instagram, make a live, go on, use the poll feature, the question feature, and ask, what do you want to know about this topic? What are you currently struggling with as it relates to this or that? So do not be afraid to ask your audience, because that's really where you're going to get some of the most rich insight there. You can also just survey them and find a few people that are your big super fans that really fit into your ideal client avatar. They are exactly who you're really trying to reach, and say, hey, if it's okay with you, I'd love to send over this quick Google survey where you would just answer a few questions. It's going to help me create better content for you. Or you can simply say, hey, I'd love to get on a 15-minute Zoom with you, ask you some questions, and give them something in exchange, a gift card, free coaching, whatever. But you really can ask your audience. Do not be afraid to do that, because again, that's where you're going to get some of the most rich insight. Another way I love to research is with Pinterest, which Pinterest is such an incredible tool. It's a visual search engine, but on Pinterest there are different Pinterest pins, there are boards, and there's also a whole trending page on trends.pinterest.com. And here again, we're searching keywords related to our niche. So I could type in small business marketing, see what pins are coming up. What are the most popular pins? What are the topics? Maybe the pin that I'm seeing is 5 reasons why your Instagram engagement is down. So if I see that pin is pinned a lot or shared a lot, I know that, okay, I know my audience is likely also struggling with their Instagram engagement. So I'm going to capture that and write that down as a pain point. But also I said there is something called trends.pinterest. So trends.pinterest is very similar to Pinterest just in general, although it has an added layer where it'll tell you what keywords are trending as it relates to whatever you're searching in there. So it'll tell you like, okay, so if you're in nail tech, it'll say like spooky fall nails. That's trending right now. Okay, great. Take note of that. Maybe make some content about your take on spooky fall nails. That was the most random example. Hopefully that resonated with someone out there. So yeah, look at trends.pinterest, and they will also show you on trends.pinterest, after you search keywords related to your niche, what pins are trending within there. So again, Pinterest is such a valuable tool for this. So I talked about what's trending on Pinterest, but you can also do this with Google Trends. There's a tool called glimpse.io, but that's also a great way to get insight around what does your audience really care about right now? Is there anything interesting going on in pop culture, in the news, that they, are excited about, that they're talking about, and can you talk about that as well? So another way that you can research is you can go on Amazon and you can look up books that your ideal client may be reading. So let's say I know I am targeting small business owners to help them with their marketing, and the One-Page Marketing Plan by Alan Dibb is a great sort of foundational marketing book that a lot of new entrepreneurs will read, because it simplifies how to build what is normally a very robust and complex marketing plan into one page. So I'm going to go on the Amazon page for the One-Page Marketing Plan, and then I'm going to look at the reviews. What are people saying about it? What did they really like? What did they not like? What did they think was missing? All of this, again, will give you clues about what they're struggling with, what they really want, what they need, what questions they have, etc. Same thing, you can do this on podcasts. So find the podcasts, the 5 or so podcasts that your ideal clients are listening to as it relates to your niche, and look at the podcast reviews. Again, what do they like? What do they hate? What do they think is missing? This is all really great insights to get this ideal client research. Finally, a couple other things. Quora, a great place to find frequently asked questions that you can that your audience might have. Again, we're just typing in keywords related to our niche, seeing what the most popular questions are, taking note of them, dropping them in our questions column, right? So we'll have questions at the top, and then in each cell, you drop an individual question that you're seeing. And then again, we create content based on that. YouTube video comments are another great way to get this insight. It's kind of similar to Reddit and Facebook groups, but we're just finding a video about your niche and we're seeing what are people commenting, what are the stories that they're sharing, what did they like, what did they dislike, right? Which ones have the most likes and comments? Because again, that's a clue that resonates with a large group of people. And then finally, AnswerSocrates.com is a really great free tool to see what people are searching for all across the web, not just on Google, but on all the different search engines. So again, we're typing in a keyword related to our niche, taking note of all the questions, and we'll pull some of that into our questions column. Awesome. Okay. So now that we have this really robust sense of who our ideal client is, or at least what their pains, their pleasures are, now we can begin to build our ideal client avatar. So the way that I build an ideal client avatar is, or the way that I use an ideal client avatar is different if I'm using it as a marketer trying to create content versus if I'm using this as an entrepreneur trying to just run my business. So in this ideal client avatar framework that I'm showing you, this is a little bit more broad that you can use more for your business so that you can get a really intimate sense of who your ideal client is. However, if you are using this just for content marketing, you don't necessarily have to go into so much detail into the demographics and sort of, the behavioral stuff is also important, but we'll talk about why so this makes a little bit more sense. So when we're building our ideal client avatar, and I've actually linked a tool here that's free. I think it's HubSpot Build Your Persona, where you can sort of plug in your own details. But like I said, I kind of like to do it in a Google Sheet or a Google Doc. We want to capture 4 key categories. So the first, which we talked about already, are the pains and pleasures. That's, again, the struggles, the challenges, the goals, the dreams, etc. In the pains and pleasures, I really want you to take special note of, for the pain section, how do they feel right now? What are the, are they feeling anxious, depressed, burnt out? Take note of those feelings, and then also take note of how they want to feel for your pleasures. So do they want to feel empowered, inspired, free, autonomous, whatever it is? Those are also really important elements that we want to bring into our pains and pleasures research. But we also want to take note of the psychographics. So psychographics are basically just, what are their values? What are their beliefs? What are their habits? What stage of life are they in? What are their attitudes and motivators? Now, again, this is a little bit, you don't necessarily need to go super in depth in all of this psychographic in the psychographic category here, because when we're for content marketing, because for content, we don't necessarily have to know. Well, it is helpful to know all these things, but the most important thing for your content marketing ideal client avatar is really just the pains and the pleasures and the questions. But again, very useful for your general business strategy. So don't skimp on this research or this activity, because it'll help you well beyond just your marketing. So our demographics we also want to take note of. So what are your ideal clients' gender, age, what's their ethnicity, their industry, their job, their income, their education level. Now, I have gone back and forth personally around how much I think it's useful to go into such specific detail about some of these things, because often you may not need to necessarily say, I'm targeting someone who's 32 years old, right? Or I'm targeting only men. You may want to go a little bit broader on some of these things, their income, or you may not. It really depends on your business. So you have to use your discretion. But if you're finding yourself as you're going through this research being like, I don't know what education level my ideal client has, and I'm not really sure that that's relevant. If you're feeling like this doesn't feel right for you, then you may not need to go into that much detail when you're filling out your ideal client avatar. But the last category that we want to touch on is the behavioral data. So the most commonly used social channels is hugely important, because we need to know where our ideal clients hanging out online so that we can show up there. Don't spend all your time posting on LinkedIn if your ideal client is on TikTok, right? We have to know where they are online so that we can show up there. We also want to see Where do they go looking for their information? How do they prefer to consume it? What are some of their shopping behaviors and purchasing motivators? That will all fall into your behavioral bucket. Now, I know we talked about some other ways to research the pains and pleasures before, the Facebook groups, Reddit, podcasts, etc. But for some of the more specific, demographic, behavioral, psychographic data, I have linked, or I have mentioned here some resources that you can use that are both US specific and also global, where you can find some of this more nuanced data. So I'll share this presentation so you guys can come back to that. But anyways, now let's talk about the third step again, which is how to create relevant and engaging content. So we know that we're applying the insights that we've uncovered in our research, right? So we know, let's say as an example, one of the pain points of my ideal client is that, let's say I'm a physical therapist. One of my pain points that I captured in my research is that my ideal clients get really stiff at the end of the day. They noted that they have back pain at the end of the day after sitting in their chair for 8 hours at their desk, right? So now I have this insight. I know a lot of these pains and pleasures. So how can I now take this and create content based on it? So if we're going to use this example of I have lower back pain because I've been sitting in my chair all day, maybe I'll create a piece of content that is 3 exercises to do at the beginning of the day to reduce lower back pain, or 3 exercises to improve your mobility after sitting at your desk all day. So again, we're trying to tie it to the specific use cases, the pains, the pleasures, the needs, the questions, etc. Because when we can really directly answer all of these things and really speak to them, this is not only going to help them be like, wow, this is exactly what I needed. Like, are they in my head, which is the response we want to evoke, but more so, it also helps us build our authority, and it positions us as an expert in the particular niche that we're in. So besides just applying the insights that we have gleaned in our research to the content, there's other tips that I want you guys to think about when you are creating content. So I'm just going to run through a few of them so that you can have an understanding of how you can apply these. So more than anything, when you are trying to create relevant content, engaging content that builds your brand's awareness, the more that you can leverage storytelling, vulnerability, and authenticity, the better. Especially if you're doing short form video, storytelling, if you can master the art of storytelling, you will be able to grow your brand so quickly. So storytelling is hugely important, and also when you're vulnerable and authentic and sharing the challenges that you face as a business owner or in your niche, that also really helps people connect with you. That makes them want to follow you because it makes you seem a lot more relatable, right? People don't want to follow or connect with the perfect person that has, that never talks about anything outside of just the educational stuff, right? They also want to know a little bit about you and what you're dealing with. That added connection goes a long way in building your brand. You also really want to give away more free value than you're comfortable with. So a lot of people think that if they give away too much, that it will result in people not wanting to work with them, but I found it to be quite the opposite. So if you go on my Instagram, look in some of my captions, you will find so much content that I've pulled directly from some of my courses and group coaching programs. So do not be afraid to give away more free value than you're comfortable with, because that will really help you grow tremendously. Another thing that we all need to be thinking about, and I know some people don't like video, so if you really, really hate it and you can't do it, I'll keep you out of this. But everyone else, we have to be using short form video. So a short form video in vertical format. So that is an Instagram Reel, that's a TikTok, that's a Pinterest idea pin, that's a YouTube short. All of those different social pieces are doing the best. All of the short form video on all different platforms are getting the most reach. So, and the great thing about creating one short form video that's 30 seconds or less long, max 60 seconds, and it's vertical, right? So I'm shooting on my phone like this, is I can now repurpose that and use this TikTok as a reel, as an idea pin, as a YouTube short. And again, those are doing really well on all different platforms. So in addition to creating educational content, which we know is going to be a lot of it, we also want to create content that either inspires or entertains. And I'm going to add something here that I don't have on the slide. or that reveals something about yourself, because we want to also share our personal story. So if you're creating content and you're saying, is this truly valuable? Is this really going to do well? Ask yourself, does this content either educate, inspire, entertain, or reveal something to my audience? If none are true, if you're only creating tons of promotional content, you're not really going to get a ton of reach and growth. Another tip that is definitely true for Instagram, and I know it's true for some of the other ones, is engage regularly. Social media is meant to be social, right? I think people like to post and ghost, so they don't, use the app for anything other than just sharing their post of the day or the week. But the platforms will reward you with more engagement if they see that you are using the app before and after, commenting on other people's stuff, liking, DMing. The more that you engage, especially on Instagram, the more engagement you will get. We need to be social on social media. I know it's quite a crazy concept, but I think we do forget about that. Another really important tip that I want you guys to think about that I learned in a book called Contagious, which is by, don't quote me, actually, I can't think of the author right now, but it's all about how to create viral content. One of the best tips I learned in that book was that in order to create content that gets shared, we want to be sure that the emotions that we're evoking are high arousal emotions. So high arousal emotions are awe, excitement, amusement, anger, and anxiety. When we evoke these types of emotions, we're going to get more reach, more engagement. We don't necessarily want to evoke too many of the low arousal emotions. That's not to say that you can't create content that does evoke this stuff, but that's not going to get a ton of reach, shares, or engagement. So the low arousal emotions that we want to sort of steer clear of is our contentment and sadness. So create content that evokes awe, excitement, amusement, and even anger and anxiety. While I wouldn't make that the majority of your content by any means, I'm sure you want to steer more towards the more positive high arousal emotions. That does still drive sharing, especially when we think about polarizing content, talking about things that not everyone will agree with. Don't be afraid to talk about polarizing content. Don't be afraid to put your stake in the ground and say, this is what I think. You may not agree with it, because not only does that help you position yourself as more of a thought leader, but it also, again, really helps drive more engagement. We talked about repurposing content. And on all your social channels, treat your bios as a business card. So really think about, if I were to try to capture the people that are just landing on my social media page for 5 seconds, because that's about as much time as you get. People will look at your page for 5 to 7 seconds, and in that time they'll determine whether or not they want to stay and engage or leave. So those 5 seconds, that bio that they see first, is really important. So tell people who you are, what do you do, what is the value that you deliver for them, because people don't care so much about what you can do, they care about what you can do for them, right? So think about that, think about your niche. And then also, do you have a call to action there? Are we trying to drive them somewhere? Are we trying to build our email list? Hopefully the answer is yes, because we don't want to have everything be on social media, because the truth is, you could get kicked out of your Instagram, your TikTok, any of your social medias for any number of reasons at any time, and it's completely out of your control. The support for those channels is not great. You could lose all of your, let's say you've built 1 million followers, or even if it's just like a few thousand, those followers are gone. You could have gotten hacked. So we need to be building our own email list outside of social, so that we can, this is a platform that we own, email, and email drives way higher conversion rates than social media in general. It's much easier to sell something to someone on your email list as opposed to selling to someone on your social media platform. So in our bios, we want to drive people to a free offer where we can capture their information, get their email, and put them on our email list, so we can continue to nurture them and engage with them, so that ultimately we can move them down our funnel and sell to them in the future. This is a big one, and I see this mistake all the time. In all of your social media, and really in most places, but especially in social media, at the end of your captions, at the end of a video, please only use one call to action. Don't say follow, share, like, because when people are presented with too many options, they end up doing nothing at all. So just pick one. Share this post with a friend. Follow for more. Whatever that is. And think about, what are your goals related to social media? Why are you using social media? What is the broader business objective that we're trying to drive? So if I'm trying to grow my brand, that means I know I'm trying to grow reach, my followers. So that probably means I'm going to want to use call to actions like follow or share the most, because those KPIs support growing your brand's awareness. So definitely please only use one call to action at the end of all of your captions, the end of your video. Even if at the end of the video it's check out, my caption for more or follow for more, just give them one single call to action. We also want to try to create shareable content, which is something like an infographic, because that extends our reach. But always be sure to add your watermark so that when people are sharing it outside of the platform, they know who this original piece of content is from, so you get that attribution. So put your handle or your website at the bottom or at some place small on the piece of content that you're trying to drive sharing for. Finally, last tip, which is actually more important than you may think, is use the features that are native to each platform as much as you can. So what do I mean by that? Let's say I'm creating a TikTok and we're repurposing that for an Instagram reel. I'm creating it on TikTok, I'm writing the captions on TikTok, I'm using the GIFs on TikTok, but when I download that asset and I share it to Instagram as a reel, I should also use the Instagram native features there. So, using their stickers, their captions, their text, because the more that you create something in the platform that it's in and use the features that are native to that platform, that tells that social algorithm that this is more of an original piece of content and they will push it more. Because the issue that a lot of these platforms are running into, especially Instagram with Reels, is people are just dumping their content from TikTok onto Reels and they're not making anything unique for Instagram. They're even putting the watermarks on or keeping the watermarks, from TikTok and posting it on Instagram Reel. Please do not do that. Download off snaptik.app. I'll talk about that in a second. Don't have any watermarks from other apps. But when they are trying to compete with TikTok, they're going to reward people that are using the native features in their editing sort of studio within each app, because that tells them that you're not just, grabbing the exact same asset on TikTok and posting it on Instagram. So the same is true for all the platforms. Try to use their features that are native to them. So repurposing content we spoke about is so important. Definitely check out the Gary Vee content model if you've never seen or heard about that. That basically just speaks to the value of creating one piece of long form pillar content that has both audio and visual. So maybe it's a long YouTube video or it's a podcast recording with video, and then essentially just taking it and trimming bits and grabbing it to contextualize it to each social platform. So let's say I have a YouTube video that I recorded. I can then strip the audio from that and create a podcast out of it. Or if I have a blog post, that's great caption. That's a great content for my email list or a social media caption. Let's not try to reinvent the wheel every time. We're trying to extend our reach as much as possible with as little work as possible. So really think about, can I use this somewhere else another way? Like we talked about with TikTok, if you're filming in TikTok, be sure to download the video without a watermark using a tool called snaptik.app. I've linked it here so that it'll basically download the video without the watermark. You can take an Instagram live and chop that up into reels. You can transcribe a podcast and turn it into a blog post. And I actually have a post here, that I made on Instagram a little while ago, where it goes into a little bit more detail on some ideas to repurpose, as well as tools that you can use to repurpose this content. So it's all here, but check out the original post there so you can get a little bit more of that detail, and you'll see as an example, for if I'm looking at how to take a video and turn it into a blog, how do I transcribe it? I have some tools that you could use for that. So Red and Sonic's AI. So definitely check that out here or on this Instagram post that I'll share with you guys. The fourth step of our content marketing process is showing up as an expert consistently. So we want to position ourselves as thought leaders. We do this by creating relevant and engaging content that directly addresses our ideal clients' pain points, that's positioning us as an expert in a specific area, and that's how we really can grow a community of loyal fans and followers. But this is not an overnight strategy by any means. We have to do this long term. It takes a little while to position yourself as an expert, but once you do, you are top of mind for your audience when they're thinking about, hey, I need help with marketing. Who do I know that's good at marketing? Oh, I know Stefanie talks about marketing all the time. She's posting about stuff that is helpful to me consistently. So I'm going to go to her if I'm looking for coaching. It's just an example. I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or anything. So how can we, position ourselves as thought leaders? Obviously, showing up on all the social platforms, but it's also great to, create your own Facebook group or Slack channel or Discord server and really try to host your own party there, because that does add a little bit more credibility than just sharing on your Instagram page as an example. You could do weekly live videos to deliver value on Instagram, Facebook, whatever platform you prefer and the one that your ideal clients are on. You could do mini trainings on your Instagram stories, save them as a highlight. You could blog, you could vlog, you could start email blasting free valuable content. Definitely recommend that. Again, we have to build our email list. That's one of the most valuable things that you can do, and one of the most valuable assets that you can have for your business. We can even just share links to helpful articles or resources that we know will help our ideal clients. We don't necessarily need to be the author of all of the content. Even if it's like, hey, I read this article and I know it'll help my audience, let me share it with them in an email as an example. And then another way to position yourself as a thought leader, get on podcasts or create your own. Podcasts are doing really well right now. Finally, the last step is to double down on what's working. All this means is we're looking at our content, we're taking stock of what is it about this piece of content that is really driving results and how can I replicate that in the future. So the 4 steps that I like to use when I'm trying to think about measuring and analyzing my content is, first, go to the individual insights tools for each platform. So let's say I'm on the Instagram insights section. I'm now going to filter by the particular KPI I'm interested in. So I had mentioned I want to increase reach, followers. So I'm going to filter by, followers, see what pieces of content are driving the most followers. Take a screenshot of that. And then ask yourself, why do I think this resonated? What is it about this post? Was it the caption? Is it the content? Is it hashtags? And this is something where you then need to hypothesize and make your own guesses, because Instagram's not going to tell you in the insights section, this post did well because people like that you're talking in this style of 2 POV. That's only something that you can sort of hypothesize on your own. So you're going to have to look at the insights, at the specific insights for each post, and make some guesses as to why you think this is working well. Look at the caption, the comments, etc. And then make it actionable. So we want to take actions, we want to take these hypotheses and turn them into something actionable that we can use for our content strategy. So as an example, I could then say, experiment with more TikTok videos in the style of 2 POVs, similar to my font psych video. This is a great way to deliver otherwise dry educational content. Now that's something that I as a business owner can use for my future content strategy, because I have something very tangible there that I can turn to. And then finally, do not forget to look at your competitors, what's working well for them, where are people commenting, what's resonating with their audience, because likely if they're in your niche, that will also resonate with your audience as well. But if you are sort of never just copy someone's idea. We always want to put our own unique spin on things. So please do not do that, because that won't drive any results. People can tell if something is copied and it's not authentic to you. So put your own spin on it, use your own voice. Do not just copy paste someone else's idea. And so before we close out this presentation, I did mention that I was going to give you some bonus tips, and we touched on some of them before. But to grow your brand's awareness organically, you have to become your own PR agent. So what does that mean? You are now putting yourself in a position to get yourself out there as much as possible. So podcast tours are one of my favorite ways to do this. Basically, we're getting on a bunch of different podcasts, talking about our business, and that's a great way to drive organic growth. I made several posts about how to actually do a podcast tour. So go check out my Instagram if you're interested, steph.pinsley. I'll share that at the end. You could guest blog for other sites, and I've linked how you can pitch yourself an article there. You can try to do speaking engagements for your industry, guest coaching like I'm doing here. You could do a dual live with someone else in your niche. Collaborate with other people. You're then going to be able to cross-pollinate audiences. Do not look at these other people in your niche as competitors. We want to look at them as collaborators, because that's how we're going to end up getting in front of more of our ideal clients, and so will they. They're not going to take any of your clients, you're not taking any of theirs, but you're just expanding your reach, and it helps both parties. So definitely look for ways to collaborate with other people in your niche. And then finally, brand deals or partnerships are another great way to kind of grow your reach online, if that's something you're interested in. Not everyone is, though. And then we touched on this, but it's good to host the party. That's another way to grow your brand's awareness, and you're creating your own community. So this could be starting your own podcast. This could be creating your own Facebook group or Discord server or Slack channel. This could be hosting or running digital events or webinars. All of those are great ways to grow your brand's awareness. All right, so before I end this presentation, I do want to give you guys an opportunity to connect with me if you're interested. So I've linked my Instagram there, steph.pinsley. I talk a lot about how to build your brand, your personal brand, marketing, content, social media, but I also talk about how to get unstuck from an unfulfilling career. So if any of those things are interesting to you, definitely follow me over there for more of that. And if you are interested in inquiring about my coaching or speaking, if you're interested in me speaking at your event, or guest coaching for your own group, or if you're interested in my coaching for yourself, please feel free to email me, steph@roadmaptorise.com. And I will end it